So I know what you're probably thinking, why am I randomly reviewing this movie out of nowhere? Well, thanks to Fathom Events, I finally got to see this movie on the big screen, and as soon as I got that opportunity, I thought to myself, yes, I finally get a chance to talk about this movie on my channel, because not only is this my favorite animated Batman movie, this is one of my favorite animated movies of all time, so I had to talk about this movie. I wouldn't be complete as a Batman fan and in my soul without seeing this movie on the big screen and talking about it on my channel. Before I continue, if you're new to my channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit the little bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a new video. With that being said, let's talk about Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So Batman Mask of the Phantasm came out in 1993, and it was a theatrical released movie right at the height of the Batman animated series from the 90s. It stars Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, possibly the best casting choices for these characters ever. Yes, they're the live-action ones that are great too, but Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, there's just something about them. Every time I hear their voice, it's like, yeah, that feels right. That feels like the characters. And the animated series and this movie wouldn't be anything without them. So like I said in the beginning, this is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And when I went into this movie on the big screen, something I wanted to notice is, how does the animation hold up all these years later, and especially on the big screen? It holds up pretty damn well. Something about the animation is that this was in the 90s, and they knew that CG wasn't up to par in the 90s. Someone should have told George Lucas that. But anyway, they knew computer graphic imagery wasn't up to par in the 90s, especially with the budget that this movie had. So they had a really smart idea. They only used it for the opening title sequence, and then the rest is hand-drawn animation. And the hand-drawn animation looks great all these years later. My only complaint with it isn't necessarily the animation itself in the movie. It was in the theater. For some reason, they didn't use the HD transfer like the Blu-ray over here. It looked standard definition, and a few shots looked blurry. I don't know why they didn't go ahead and clean it up, or like I said, use the HD transfer from the Blu-ray. But that's my only really complaint with the animation. Everything still looks great. It looks like great hand-drawn animation. I can't really find a better word to describe it. It holds up all these years later. This movie is also rated PG. Now, something I've noticed with animated movies, and really just movies in general, is that a lot of people don't utilize their ratings anymore. And what I mean by that is they don't really, it seems like they don't pay attention to what the rating actually stands for. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, but PG stands for Parental Guidance Suggested. Some material may not be suitable for children under yada yada, you know that. PG-13 is parental guidance is needed for children under 13. Rated R is no one under 17 can see it. NC-17 is you have to be 17 to see it. G is just for everybody. Everyone of all ages can see this movie. But nowadays, G movies are normally associated with almost baby movies. You know, movies that someone under like 5 years old can enjoy. And this movie is rated PG. If this movie was released today, like if this movie was made and released today, this would have been PG-13, because there's some PG-13 related stuff in this movie. Like, people die, there's blood, there's really hard-edged fighting in this movie. And this is, okay, it's not PG-13 level, but this is when PG actually stood for parental guidance is needed for children under a certain age. And that's a complaint like I said, that's a complaint I have with a lot of animated movies nowadays, and some live action movies, but this is honestly a true PG movie. Also, the score for this movie, I've always loved the score, but hearing it in the theater was completely different. I got chills when Batman put on his mask for the first time, and you hear that orchestra music just build up. It brought chills, it brought tears to my eye. It was great, and the score doesn't get the credit it deserves. I didn't look in the credits beforehand who composed it, but really nailed it. A really underrated score that not a lot of people talk about. Now, if you've noticed already, I haven't really talked about the plot of this movie, and that's because Yeah, this movie is beloved by Batman fans. A lot of people like this movie. A lot of people watch this movie. But I know a lot of people who haven't watched this movie, who don't even know what this movie is about. So I wanted to keep this review as vague as possible. I'm not going to talk about what the story is about or anything like that. All I'll say is the story is great. The voice acting is great. The animation still holds up all these years later. Everything is great in this movie. I really had trouble finding a flaw with this movie. And I really want people to see this movie without knowing anything about it, not even a plot synopsis. So, honestly, go check out this movie. I know it was only a one-night event, so if you're watching this now, you probably can't see it in theaters, but the DVD and Blu-ray are out there. Go check out this movie. It's honestly underrated. I know, like I said, I know a lot of people like this movie, but this movie is very underrated, in my opinion, still. And of course, Batman Mask of the Phantasm gets 5 stars. I easily recommend this movie, even if you're not a hardcore Batman fan. If you're just like a casual Batman fan, like you're like, yeah, he's pretty cool. I like the movies, but he's not my favorite. I would still recommend seeing it. This movie is really on par with The Dark Knight or Batman 1989 or Batman Returns. It's up to par with those movies. Like I said, it doesn't get the credit it deserves, and it definitely deserves it. So if you've guys seen Batman Mask of the Phantasm, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section. And what's your favorite animated Batman movie? This one's my favorite, but a close second for me would easily be The Dark Knight Returns. It's really, honestly, there's some days where those two kind of butt heads at each other, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, this one definitely takes a spot. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, click right here, and I'll see you next time.